Okay, for another Dick Tales to the toilet. I'll start to incorporate these into our trips now. One per trip sort of thing. I'm on page 102 today, but I want to go back to the previous page from the previous one. This one here. Because I actually noticed that it actually had the flowering percentages here. Basically the flowering percentages are basically between a third and 40% in the mature flowering ones, the ones that are known to be mature plants that are flowering, and of the immature ones it was between 24 and 30%. So it's basically between a quarter and a third of immature plants that became flowering ones sort of thing. Yeah. So basically, if we just choose the maturing ones, which is basically what most people have in their collections, it's basically between just over a third to 40%, which is much different to cultivation. In cultivation, most of the plants which are mature always put up a flower stalk every year. This is really different. That's the point. The other thing I missed out on was this percentage of plants per unit area. Basically what they're saying, the average number of plants here is 89 per square metre. So if we call that 90, if you basically have a quad rack of 10 by 10 square of your metre, so you got 1 metre by 1 metre and you got 1 10 by 10 centimetre square, all the way down, you basically 90% of that grid is going to be filled up with a plant or thing with only basically 10 squares free. So you can almost say you have a plant in every little 10 by 10 centimetre square grid, or basically pot size. 10 by 10 centimetres is basically an inch is 2.53. So yeah, it's basically 4 inches by 4 inches, basically, isn't it? Am I right? 2.5 is 5 centimetres, basically. Yeah. So basically, in a pot that size, you've got one plant per that size in a metre by a metre sort of thing. Of that metre, 90 of those 4 inch by 4 inch grids are filled up with plants, basically, with 10 of those 4 inch by 4 inch grids basically being vacant. But those 10 are spread through that 1 metre sort of thing. So basically, you take a metre by a metre square and you cut it into 10 square thing, and you can almost just put a plant on every single 10 by 10 centimetre or 4 by 4 inch square sort of thing, basically, and you'll be very close to what it is in the wild. And that's, they talk about that occurring, is that mid-zone or something? Where was it? Counts way, blah blah blah. Low sensitivity. From the we got the long persistent root hairs, and then we're turning over the page, which is the one we're doing today. Now, if I can see what we're going to do today. Oh, here we go. Common associates of dionaea have already been mentioned, but it should be emphasised that although several species do indicate the likelihood of a suitable habitat, none can be designated as reliable indicators. Well, we talked about that last time, that yeah, there does seem to be 100% correlation. If you look down the serpentine point of view, you always get 100. Well, you do get 100% correlation if you use the formula I worked out in 1996, I think it was, when I first got the Serpentine book. I made this rule up within 1 day of getting the paper and the book together, because I think in 1994 Donald Schnell had told me on a cassette, this is the paper I ought to go out and get. So I went out and searched for this thing in the Bar Smith Library, and then that the Irish one that came out from Ireland, the one that came before Tim Bailey's book. So you got the Irish one, you got Tim Bailey's book, and then Tim Bailey has done another sort of republication through Stuart McPherson's Red Fern history group, basically. And when I get that book, I'll be able to hopefully work out whether it's just like a retelling of the Irish one through Tim Bailey. So basically, has Tim Bailey just rewritten the Irish book and then got it republished in Redfern Natural History thing, or are they different at all? Just like Pietro Paulo seems to be like a retelling of this paper in a more condensed like form. Pietro Paulo 1. Like Pietro Paulo 1 and Pietro Paulo 2 are different. Pietro Paulo 1 is a little booklet sort of thing, so many pages long, about 3/4 of a centimetre thick, I would say roughly. And it's basically a condensed, cut down retelling of this whole paper sort of thing, in a way, with a few other things thrown in as well. But basically that's what it really is, if you look at it from an overview point of view. Now the Irish, what was it called? Something flytrap. It was like Aphrodite's mousetrap, that's it. Whereas I call it Diana's, flytrap sort of thing. Oh well. Or Diana's Tippity Witches or something like that. Because I reckon from some other bloke who's listed in one of our early Australian journals, he mentioned the fact that the spelling was probably a mistaken spelling, and it should have been an A instead of an O or something like that. So it should have been named after the Roman god of war and death and destruction, which I think is a much better, a nasty little plant that kills insects in the most horrible way. Well, that's probably the glid, but this is the second most horrible way to die, I suppose. Because once you find out how the glid kills an insect, you think, oh shit, that really is bad. I wouldn't want to go that way. If it does turn out to be like a poison dart sort of hook shoved into your belly, and then you flipped into this thing, and then you slowly, drown in a bloody acid bath of death sort of thing, it really is a horrible way to go. Okay, if it turns out to be true or not, but I mean, there's quite a lot of evidence saying you got these sharp little barbs on some of these end tentacles sort of thing, but they're not on every single one, which is amazing, and they can be either a single one, a bifurcated one, and I've seen a pictorial drawing of a trident one, a line drawing, pencil drawing or whatever, of one with 3. So I've seen 1 and 2. I've seen a drawing of, in photographic form. I've seen a 3 in a graphical pencil drawing sort of thing by somebody else, I think. So there is some sort of correlation between what other people are seeing and what I've seen, sort of thing. Okay, where were we? Maybe it's worth it. Just end this clip here, I don't know. Here we go. Shrub coveration. A plant cover in Dioneer zones is characteristic. I can't even say the word now. Okay, it's early in the morning. The soil surface is generally completely bare between the individual plants. In other words, of this 10 by 10 metre grid, we've basically got nothing in between. Basically, you just got the 90 plants in the 100 grid squares sort of thing, and nothing basically in between. The soil surface is generally completely bare between the individual plants, although at the pockets edge, sphagnum is commonly present, forming dense mats. Vegetation is least abundant in the upper part, and increases slightly from about the midpoint to the pocket edge. So basically, when you grow these things in the pot, you don't really want anything else in with them. Basically, just transects across typical margins, which were some 10 metres wide. Okay, so we got 10 metres wide. So that's 10 by 10. So that would have been like, if it was like 10 by 10 by 10 metres long, you would have had 900 to 1,000 plants basically there. Showed about 20%, 26% cover in the upper 4 metres. So in other words, basically a quarter of 900 to 1,000. In other words, up the top a bit, there was only like 250 plants per basic grid pattern there. With a slight increase to about 40% in the middle of some zone to tall shrubs of Pocosin proper. So I think they're actually talking about the coverage. Yeah, I made a mistake there. Okay. Anyway, so basically they were doing like 10 centimetre wide transects sort of thing. So yeah. So if we had like 10 by Yeah, you could get quite a few plants there. Yeah, you could have up to 6,000 plants if you like 10 of those, 6 of those transects or something. Anyway, blah blah blah. Oh, this is the